Hey, how you doing? My name is Kai and welcome to Conversations with Kai, where we get deeper and talk about life, business, inspirations, love and all things in between. And today I have got a very dear friend, an amazing guest, a very powerful and successful man, a full-time trader, and someone who has been very dear to me in many walks of life. But he has so much to share and is now based here in Dubai. And it's very, very crucial that we get down to business, to trading, and we hear about his story and some very amazing gems that he has to share. So without further ado, I would love to introduce to you the CEO and founder of P8FX Trading, Mr. Priyesh Dasara.
Oh, hey, that's a lovely intro. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, it's all truth and coming from the heart. And very, very overdue, if I'm honest with you. Like, we should have done this a long time ago.
Yes, we should have. But life takes us in different directions, right?
Absolutely. And our paths cross all the time. I've been here for 7 years now. And every time, in fact, you were my first visitor when I first moved here. Yeah. So please tell our audience a little bit more about you. And before we dig really, really deep, how old are you? A little bit more about what you do and your background before trading.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is P8FX Dasara. I am 38 years old. I'm a full-time trader and investor and CEO of P8FX Trading, which is an accredited education platform specializing in investing, trading and building multiple income streams. I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, in my 13th year, started in my mid-20s. Like what Kai just said, I have moved to Dubai with my family last year. And so here we are. Here we are. And so journey into trading. Journey into trading starts really early on. I would say really, really early on. Mm-hmm. And something that kind of fell on my lap, something that I didn't really plan, something that I didn't know I wanted to do. I come from a music background, like yourself. And it's how me and you really connected and gelled when we were younger. And so I thought that music was going to be the all and the end for me. Right. And so that was it. That was my passion. It's something that I will always love, I think. Music.
And when you say music, can you tell us a bit more? What kind of music? Were you playing the drums? So I was were you on the piano? What kind of music?
I was a recording artist, right? I was a recording artist. I like to do a lot of things. Like I did play a little bit of the piano, the violin, but I was a recording artist. I was the artist. I was the rapper. That I formed into a rapper when I was very young. Mm-hmm. From 8 years old, I was singing at religious festivals. And so music was my journey from a very, very young age. And that's what I thought I saw myself doing for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't meant to be.
Was that in your family, music?
I would say no. It's not really in my family.
That's quite young to start. You said 8.
Yes, I just like to sing. I just like to sing. And so my mum just... said to apply for something called the Kirtan group, which means like a singing group at my local temple, and just to try and sing there. And I did. And then I became one of the lead singers for the group. And then imagine at a young age performing in front of thousands of people every few weekends. And so that's kind of how everything started. And that was kind of where I went to my first recording studio, because we were then told to go and record some soundtrack collectively. There's a group of like 20 of us. And that's kind of where everything pretty much started. And then I said to myself, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna take this on, and I'm gonna become a full-time musician, and I'm gonna be famous.
Nice. Right. I don't know much about you singing, but I definitely know a lot about you rapping and making quite a name for yourself. Actually, you went quite far with that.
Yes. So my music name, Strikey, of course, many people still remember. I did very well. So when I started to rap, that all came from a very difficult and dark place as well.
Really? Okay.
So I used music. This is what I say, that it kind of, not only did the trading fall into my lap, but also the rapping and music side also fell into my lap. Okay. So when we was young, I wasn't academically smart. I wasn't the brightest spark. I couldn't get into many schools.
Really? That surprises me.
Yeah, I think maybe a lot of people are surprised. I couldn't get into any schools. I just didn't have the caliber to want to study and have the know-how of how to absorb information, keep it retained in my head. And so I'd fail exams, and I wasn't smart. I tried to get into some schools for like a violin scholarship. It didn't work because I wasn't good enough playing the violin. And so I had no choice but to go to one of the lowest ranking schools in the UK, and so that's where I kind of went. And in school, naturally, I was one of two young Asian guys in the school.
Okay.
In a predominantly white school.
Okay.
And so that's
what area was that?
This was I won't say for the sake of saying things, but I won't say. But this is in London.
Okay.
In London, and I was one of two Asian guys in school.
Okay.
And naturally the bullying started.
No.
And it got really tough. I looked different, right? I was the kid that had his shirt tucked in with the long tie, with the red jumper that nobody wore, with the
This was
trousers.
Uniform at school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uniform,
Okay.
with the trousers too short, with the white socks, with the purple high-tech trainers, with their hair.
And high-tech was not cool back then.
No, it was not cool. Everyone had kickers.
Yeah.
And I had high-tech.
Reebok, Fila,
Yeah.
all those ones.
My dad would put a bowl over my head and then cut around it.
Okay.
So I had that type of haircut. And I had a women's blazer or young girl's blazer. My family were not well off. We come from a very unwell off family, let's say, upbringing. And through that, we had to just get clothes as and where we could. So I had a women's blazer. So the back of the blazer didn't have the slits, and it was just round. And so naturally I became bullying material. The other Asian kid, his parents took him out of school. Then I'd gone to my parents and I said, look, I would like to leave.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to leave school. And I said, you can't, Paresh, because there's nowhere else you can go. You didn't get in anywhere. There is no way you can go. So I had to kind of stay put and stay in school.
So I guess you maybe found a bit of comfort, I guess, with music, because at least there you felt that you had a bit of a strength. It sounds like
the music didn't really kick off then. I was still doing my singing in religious festivals, but that was it. There were inside toilets and outside toilets. The inside toilets are the ones that all the kids would use. The outside toilets no one would use. But that's where I would go to eat my lunch, so that no one would
in the
find
toilets.
me. Yeah, because I needed to eat, and somewhere where people would leave me alone. And this was all before I got into year 10, and it was at that moment I was in an English class, and at the end of class there was a group of boys that got in a circle at the back of the classroom, and they would start rapping. They would start rhyming, yeah. And I was really good at rhyming, right? I was really good at English and English lit, and so I liked to rhyme. I used to write some little poems down.
Yeah.
So I kind of ducked my little head in, listened, and they were kind of pointing to the next person, and they were going one by one, rhyming. I didn't really know what it was called, what rapping was even called back then. So I remember going home and I wrote some rhymes down, right? I wrote some rhymes down, and then went to school the next day, and at lunchtime, on the playground, the same group of boys were together, and then I knew exactly straight away what they were doing, right? So I kind of ducked my head in again, and then they were pointing, and this time they pointed to me. So then
No way.
I was like, okay, here comes LIL with the pre. Guess what? Before you never knew me, bringing the sound up so deadly, and now you know, now you see the MC pre is this heavy, and everybody was like, oh. And for the first time,
You still remember it and everything.
I remember. And for the first time, like, they put their arm around me, and I felt accepted.
Yeah.
And so I guess I used music as a bullying defense mechanism.
Okay.
And I was now part of a group, and all of a sudden everyone's eyes opened in school.
Of course.
And now I wasn't the person that people would try to bully or would walk past. Now people knew, oh, so this is Pre. This was Lil MC Pre.
I was gonna say, it's like you had your own little swag going on, like, and
cool kid. That's what it was. And then naturally, as we got older, further past year 10, year 11, obviously naturally my features as a young boy started to develop as well, and I started to look different as well, whereas people wouldn't look at me before, now they were starting to look at me. So by the time I left school, the whole viewpoint of how everyone perceived me changed. And I would say towards the end I was a little bit more popular than what I was when I first went in.
And so it became quite successful to a point for you, right?
Yes, I was. I managed to get 2 plaques. I'd done really well. I was under management. I toured around many countries. Managed to release 2 singles off the first album and an album. Managed to be in the recording studio for the second album, and that's when everything kind of went wrong, I guess.
Well, I want to take a little moment there, because this was all, today you can do so much as an independent artist from your bedroom, right? But this was over a decade ago, where there was so much things you had to rely on a record label for. Yes. So you did a lot of this, I just want to stress for people listening, without a label. This was your own money that you had saved and worked for, and you were releasing independent music back when there wasn't really a way to do that, very, very early on, without a label. And then, trying to get the labels to take notice of you, trying to get management to take notice of you and all that stuff, which is still a thing today, but there's so much more that you can do with, of course, social media, and really take matters into your own hands. But you were able to get 2 plaques. How did you manage that?
Thinking differently and doing things a little bit differently. I always knew that I thought differently from a lot of people, because I knew what I wanted. And this stems back from when we was in school. The trend for a lot of people was to go to the newsagent in the morning, pick up penny sweets for 1p, come into school and then sell them for like 3 pence, 5 pence. And that's how they would make their money. And I was like, that wasn't for me. That whole side hustle wasn't for me. But I needed a way to make money, because my mother always taught me that if you have your money, then you can buy what you want.
Right.
Because we as a family don't have the money, but if you earn the money, then you can go and grab what you want, right?
Right.
And then so I had an idea, and so I had asked my mom to get all her savings, as much money as she could, to buy me a Dell PC, one with the tower with the 2 CD slots.
Yeah.
And I said, Mum, it has to have 2 CD slots. And she's like, why, Mum? I got an idea. You got to trust me. I got an idea, but I need you to just get me this Dell. So, bless my parents, man. They did everything they could to get the money to get me one. And we had a fresh, brand spanking new Dell computer in my house. And that's when I started to utilize Napster, LimeWire. I realized that people were heavily into hip hop music. Back in the day. We're talking, like DMX. And so I started to download any sort of song from that artist, put it on a CD, and I would just call it something, like their new album, as an example. I would go to school, and I would sell that for £5 a CD.
What?
So people were selling 3 pence penny sweets, and I was selling a £5 CD, and I managed to sell loads. So I had this kind of knack for thinking outside of the box.
Entrepreneurial and money mindset was sort of planting a seed so early for you.
Yeah, because I wanted the money, so then I could then do things, right? Because I never had the financial flexibility a lot of people had. They could wait and rely for their birthdays and Christmas for their gifts,
right?
But we wasn't in a financial position to be able to do that, right? So I needed another way to do it. When all the kids we would go to Cub Scouts, and when all the kids at the end of Cub Scouts would go to their parents would give them £1. There was a tuck shop, and then they would go and they would take 100 penny sweets from there, and they would have a big bag of penny sweets, and then they'll be eating it. And I would always go to my mom and say, "Oh, Mom, can we get some sweets?" And she's like, "Son, we haven't got the money for it." So how I got the money for it, I used to go to the playground. People would always flick and play games with 2 pence and 1 pence coins. So I'd collect those, and then have a little stash of cash of like 15 pence, 20 pence. Then I would go to the tuck shop
and buy your own sweets.
I would buy my own sweets. And it may not have been a big bag, it may not have been 100, but that was my way of getting some sweets, and it made me happy. So I managed to get some sweets for myself,
Of course.
And so it is what it is. But I did think differently from when I was when I was very young, and I did things differently when it came to my music career. I would, and it may sound creepy now, we're now in 2024, but I would wait in the car park waiting for like a producer or a DJ to walk to his car, and I'd wait for him to come out of the building of some radio shows, and I would then run up to them and then hand them a CD. And I would say, hey, my name is Strikey, and this is my demo, or here's my CD, please could you take a listen to it. And
it's very brave. A lot of people wouldn't have the guts to do that, or feel like it's embarrassing or whatever.
I felt like my music was good.
And
I
you wanted to
believed in
do
myself.
anything.
I believed in my music, and so I gave it out. So that was one thing I did. Of course, I did the secondary thing, which is email. So I emailed anyone and everyone. I managed to go to W.H. Smith, and in there they had a little book, and in there was details of music producers, record labels, and I managed to write down all of them. I couldn't afford the book, but I managed to write down all of the email addresses, and I must have had like 25 email addresses. Sent all of these emails across as well. Didn't get no reply. And the third thing I did, and this is a shout out to Stephen Bartlett, that said he'd done something of a similar sort. And Stephen, I've been doing this way before you did it. Yeah, is that I would post my demo to these record labels and producers as well, and I would put it in an envelope, and I would put red tape on the envelope, so just make it stand out, because they would get a lot of submissions of music, per day, but I needed mine to stand out, so I put red tape on it, and then it was through all of this is how people like Tim Westwood even played my music and stuff. And so it's the thinking differently, doing things differently is, I guess, that gave me a better chance at doing well when I was younger in the music game.
Right. And so what then happened after music? Because of course you're not in music now, so take us a little bit further into where you went to after the peaks and troughs of the music industry in your career.
So when firstly, leaving the music career was a very big decision, right?
Of course.
And it took a lot of time, thinking, thought process for me to come to terms that I'm about to leave and walk away from.
Because you had some really big collaborations, and you toured, and you'd done music videos and all this stuff that you paid for yourself. Yeah,
so I loved the music, hated the business.
Of course.
So it's the music business. Hated the business. What a lot of people don't know back home is it's not everything that you see on television.
Smoke and mirrors, glitz and glam.
Everything is done specifically for a reason, and I didn't feel like I felt like I was being used.
Okay.
I felt like I was being used. There were some deals that came my way that I was young and naive, and I had a right to express my views on certain projects or certain companies that approached us.
Right.
And because I was young, I didn't have the right guidance, I turned them away. In hindsight, if I hadn't have turned them away, my whole life would have gone in a totally different journey, I think.
Okay.
But I did. We had a lot of falling out. And then when people talk about the marketing machine and the record label, how much power they have, I mean, the moment I walked away, they pulled everything. I mean, I was out of the gym, my music videos was out of the gyms, out of aeroplanes, out of everywhere. And basically, I
just stuff distributed planes.
Yeah. So they locked me off everything. And so I was a nothing, just like that. Then all the bills started coming to my house. You got to pay for this now, pay for that. I mean, so when they really want to lock you off, they will lock you off. And that's what happened to me. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, so now I'm in a position where I've got no other way to earn money. I'm just basically at home. And had a conversation with Mum, and I was like, Mum, I don't know what to do. I'm lonely. I don't know what to do.
Right.
And so the first thing she said is, I want you to stick some money in an account I'm going to make for you. And so that's all I did. And then she
roughly
said,
what age were you at the time?
I was about 24.
Okay.
About 24.
So you put some money into an account that she opened.
So and that was that. I just left it. Just forgot about it. And then at the time, I decided to take on a job at Tesco, and to become a line manager, and to progress up the Tesco ladder. So then my kind of
this is a UK
changed.
Supermarket chain, a large supermarket chain.
Yes, it is. And so I decided to stop the music career and then go down the retail career. And then I wanted to progress in the company, wanted to do really well in the company, and that's where I kind of saw my next passion you know. And I went down that route, and I guess the whole trading and investing was kind of trickling and happening in the background without me even knowing, really, because my focus was on the supermarket career.
So you make it to, if I remember correctly, like store manager, then
Yes.
regional manager, area manager.
So I was going for an area manager role. That's
Right.
what I was trying to apply for.
In quite a prestigious area as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And look, I really had high hopes. I really thought I was going to do well in the company. I saw a career there, and after the instability of the music career, I found some stability there.
Of course.
Right? And I was doing very well. Again, I had a very unique talent in that world where I understood people understood me. So I got things done, and that's how I'd done really well there. I'm not going to get into the details, but we had a falling out, and I left.
Okay.
I left because I felt that they didn't value my worth.
Okay.
And I know my worth, so I made the decision to leave.
Right.
But when I left, I didn't leave just like stupidly or without a plan or anything. I was in a position where I was earning more externally through my investments in trading than I was via my job, so it made sense that this decision is going to be okay.
So let's take this back. So you leave the music career, which was going well to a certain point, and then you get lost in. That's not actually something that a lot of young people or anyone would admit. But I feel like now in today's day and age, it's something that people are talking about a lot more if they're not happy in their line of work and feel lonely. So that's the first kudos to you, to be honest with you. But then going down the retail route, your mum tells you to put some money aside. How much money was this, and what actually got you into being interested in going more down that route in the first place, if you had the security as a store manager at this job?
So my mum asked me to put some money away, and so I had about £3,000 available that I could just do what I wanted with, and so I put that into a specific investment account.
Right.
And I just left it. That's all I did. I had no interest in it, not in the money, in the investing, anything along the lines of that.
And at the time, were you aware that your mum knew much or anything about this type of thing? Will you just say, "Oh, my mum said do this, so I'll do it"?
So I did have an idea that my mum was into, not to the grand scheme of things, but I knew that she liked this type of stuff.
Okay.
And she always would speak about certain companies and write things down, and I'd see some things come through the post and some sort of magazines, some financial
Right.
magazines. So I knew she enjoyed this type of thing, but it was nothing. I didn't know to what extent.
So
right?
you trust what she says. You put this 3K away,
Yeah.
and then what happens?
And then I wanted to buy my first property, right?
Okay.
And so I needed money for a house deposit, and then I needed to kind of round up all the money that I had in places so that I could afford the
down payment.
Yeah, of course, yeah, for the deposit back then. And so I said to my mum, "I'm gonna need that money back, by the way."
Whatever you said, I did it, but now I need it back.
I'm sorry, but I kind of need it back now. Yeah, I'm gonna get my house and stuff. And she's like, "It's fine. It's your money. So go go have a look and withdraw it." I went to open the account up, and remember this was all in my mother's name as well. I went to open the account, and I'm not going to say on camera, but it was a substantial return, and that's what made my eyes light up. Like,
Let's have a rough scale. Was it double what you put in?
more. We're talking.
Wow.
We're talking. What? Okay,
Even if it was
give you
double?
a minimum, we're talking times 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Times 10 on a minimum. And so, and that's what sparked my interest. I've got to be honest. It was the money that sparked my interest.
And how many years was this between when you put it in and when you're now like, I need it back?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Wow. So
2
she
years.
really knew what she was talking about.
She knew what she was doing. She knew certain things about the specific company that was going to do well and they're going to venture into this space. And it was very clever. When I look back at it, it was genius. How she figured out that this was going to happen. And naturally, the world evolves, right? And she just put 2 and 2 together and made the puzzle. And then she just told her son to put a little bit of money aside and do it. And so I did. And I trusted my mum with anything, right? And so if she told me to jump off a cliff, I would, you know? And then so my mum's always been my ride or die.
Right.
And so I did it, and it was that's what sparked the interest. And then it was, yo, mumsy, let's have a seat. Let's sit down. Like,
run that back. So what do I do next? Where's my next 3K going?
It's like, what? So basically, I was trying to scrounge up money for a house deposit, and I was done.
Right.
I was done. And then so then things became smoother and easier, especially when it came to the property. Naturally, money talks. Right, so now I could put a little bit more into it. Now my affordability of payments per month became a lot more easier, and I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. And that's when I was like, so I need more of this. So what do I do? So mum told me at the same time, she gave me like names of 4 or 5 other stocks. She said, just keep an eye on them. And that's when for the first time I started to look at websites that had all these numbers, you know, these different numbers on websites that are moving up and down. I had no idea what any of this was, by the way, but it sparked my interest.
And you now start digging.
Now, yeah, I'm thinking, okay, what's this?
Right.
And that's when I started asking questions to mom about this and about that, and how did she know, and what to look at, what to look for. And then she said to keep an eye on these companies. So I started asking, why do I need to keep an eye on these companies? So she would say, look, this is in banking, so think about this, and da-da-da-da. And then I was like, okay, I understand.
So how did you afford to continue going down that route? Were you putting some of that money back in that you had from, you know, the returns, or was it from your now stable job? Were you putting that money in? How did you?
So I started small. Because I was still, remember, that was really and truly my mum who got me that, right? It wasn't me. Right, so it's not my claim that I have done this, and so I needed to find my claim.
Right,
P8FX has done this. So I took her advice and I made a note of the stocks, and then I done a little bit of reading, and then I made some notes on some other stocks as well, and then I started really small, and I just put £50 into an investment portfolio into a stock.
Very sensible.
At the time.
Because it could have been easy to go down a more greedy route and go, okay, I'll do another 3K here or another 5K there, but starting really, really small and sensible with £50.
But I think you got to remember, guys, that I'm 38 years old. We're in 2024. When I was doing this is a long time ago. The whole financial landscape was different back then.
Of course.
Right? Like £100 was a lot of money. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Like having, I don't know, like £20,000. You know, back in the day, you could buy houses for 15,000, 20,000. We're talking in our parents' generation.
Yeah.
So this stuff was expensive, and so it may be like, oh, that's nothing to people nowadays, but back in the day, it was a lot. So putting £50 of my hard-earned money, and into
not sure where it's going to go.
It was a big risk, and so people might think, oh, it's £50, nothing, but it was a big thing back then.
Right.
Yeah, you got to remember that most people and investment firms, banks, everyone's portfolio, if you returned like 5% annually over the year, you've done well.
Of course.
8% was like unheard of.
Right.
Oh, nowadays we're rocking hundreds of percent, but back then that is what the reality and the norm was. Hedge funds still to this day give you like
5 to 8% is
it's just,
great.
It's just a norm, right? It's just a norm, and so £50 was enough for me. That's all I could afford. That's all I could afford to put in. So I needed to feel it.
Of course.
I needed to feel where this was going to go and how it was going to go. I didn't understand that investing and trading isn't a technical game; it's an emotional game.
Right.
Yeah? And then at the time, like everybody else, I would log in like 25,000 times a day to try and
see if it's turned into 1 million yet.
But that's the thought, because it happened, isn't it? It happened in that one account. So now I'm thinking, that it's going to happen to all of this. And so I'm looking at it, so I'm thinking, okay, today's gone up 2 pence. I'm thinking to myself, 2 pence. The next day, down minus 5 pence.
Oh, yeah.
On a good day, plus 17 pence. Listen, I thought I was the guy.
Yeah.
And
but it was such a good way to learn. Slow and steady wins the race, and seeing those small increments and those small wins. Yeah.
But then some of these stocks would perform, and they would return like 20%, 30% year on year. Some would mature. By mature, it means, I mean, it take its time to get there, like a few years. And then slowly but surely, my investment started to become bigger and bigger, to £70, to £80, to £100, £200. And then all of a sudden, my investment started to get big. Not only am I putting capital in from my salary, but the investments that I've got in are maturing, are returning money as well. So I'm turning that into cash, using that cash to get into others. So I'm not taking it out to then spend it. I'm taking it out to, because the craze back in my day was PlayStation 1 games. It was PlayStation games.
Right.
Whereas I wasn't doing that. I was just keeping it in there, using that cash,
of course,
getting involved in something else, because I needed more money for the other stocks, because I was aware that the more money I had, the more return I could make on them. Right. And sometimes I'm waiting for years. I'm waiting years until some of these stocks play out. I mean, times have changed now. Right. But that's how it was back in the day.
And so would you say that was your inspiration then, effectively? And I guess it sounds like it changed your life at that time. Of course, you weren't doing music anymore. You weren't putting the money back into music. You were now staying focused on the steady route with your job, but also putting the money back in and waiting for it to mature. So how did it impact your life at that time?
So before we get into how it impacted my life, the investments can take time. But I wanted money now.
Of course.
Right? And my salary was just not enough.
Right.
It's a good salary, very well paid, but it wasn't enough.
Right.
Because I never saw myself living like this. I want to live like this.
Right.
So if I want to live like this,
you need more.
I've got to do what it takes to get more to live like this.
Yeah.
Because when I get to this stage, that's not going to be enough.
Right.
Because then I want to live like this.
Right.
You see? And so I didn't go to many birthday parties. I didn't use the money for PlayStation games. Because that's the here and now. I want this. That's not going to come at 25 years old, at 28 years old. That's going to come when in the future.
Right.
And so that thought process is what helped me, I guess, taking it back. I just thought differently. Right. I just thought differently. And so how it impacted my life, and I'm not going to use the same words like a lot of people use, change my life. I'm not even going to say that, because I truly believe you will be where you're meant to be. Yeah. And hard work goes a long way.
Of course.
Working smart goes a long way.
Of course.
Yeah. It's very rare, and it's a very rare anomaly to find someone that's either inherited that money or won the lottery, something like that. For the vast majority of people, that is never going to be a reality. Right. So it's going to be about the work you put in. Right. So I was also a strong believer that you got to go for it. You got to work hard. Right. And you got to work smart. Working hard is one part. Working smart is the crucial part. Right. Right. So you can take a whole case of baked beans, and you can work hard, and you can sweat and put it on the shelf one by one. Or you can work smart, lift up the whole case and put the whole case on the shelf
and stack.
You see, and then so it's stuff like this. And so how it changed my life is that it made me aware of how the world works. Okay. It ultimately helped me understand and learn about myself, which I believe was the defining turning point in everything in my life. It's when I learned about myself. And I think it made me believe that no matter what you want in life, anything can be achieved, but you just got to do it. Right. Because in life, Kai, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Right. It's as simple as that. You're going to do it or you're not going to do it. You're going to cross the road or you're not going to cross the road. You're going to eat your breakfast or you're not going to eat your breakfast. There's only two choices. It's as simple as that.
You sound like, all of your experiences and listening to, your story about how you grew up and music and things like that, you got a very clear understanding of how the world works, not necessarily having some of your school subjects being the strongest, but actually you got a lot of life experience and world experience through the eyes of trading and money at a young age, in your early 20s. And so being able to apply that in a very smart, logical way has afforded you great benefits and many things that people sadly never learn or learn very late in life. So being able to apply that, you sound like someone who's been very passionate, very creative, a go-getter, someone who thinks differently even when you were very young at school to get what you wanted and you needed. And you're always someone who wants to share that, very generous with your time and wanting to open the doors and opportunities for more than just yourself, and collaborate with people, which thankfully people are doing more of now. But even back then, it wasn't really that mindset. A lot of people wanted to do just for me, and hold things together. But you help people a lot. And I kind of want to understand a little bit more of where that comes from and why you help people, why you're very passionate about giving back, even if you're not necessarily, as you said, things are in the future. So even when you're not necessarily where you want to be, where that helping and giving back nature comes from.
Does it hurt to be a good human being?
Absolutely not.
And I've been brought up with manners and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm able to help someone, and this is how actually the company P8FX started in the first place, if I'm able to help someone positively in their life, why would I not want to do that? If I can help them in a way, why be greedy and keep things to yourself? And why, if you figured out a way how aside from the wealthy 1%, you can find an avenue where normal people like us can also build a good amount of income, why would you want to do that on your own?
Absolutely.
Would you want to share, like, guys, look, I figured something out. Why don't we just do this? Yeah,
right.
We can do this. We can be a little bit smart with it, and we can apply it. We can do that. That's just for that. If I've made I like to cook. If I've made a good recipe, why, when someone says, Presh, can I have that recipe? Of course, take it. Mm-hmm. 'Cause I created it, right? I want you to recreate it, taste it, so that, so your friends and family and your guests will also enjoy that food. Why gatekeep it? Keep it to yourself, right? And so it's just my nature. I just want to, and I strongly believe that, it doesn't cost anything to be a good human being. And if someone is struggling to cross the road, just help them out.
Absolutely.
If someone is drenched, if someone is drenched and it's pouring rain outside and you have an umbrella and you don't mind just getting wet, but they are struggling, just give them the umbrella. Mm-hmm. There are things like that. But when it comes to the trading world, when it comes to why I help people in a financial landscape, that comes from a life experience that I wish no one would ever have to go through.
Okay.
And so only probably a handful of people in the whole world will know about the underlying reasons as to why P8FX is here. So it's common knowledge that in the past I have exposed fraudulent people in financial markets.
Right.
There's been many interviews that I've taken that I speak openly about what they do and how people can be prevented from that. But what a lot of people don't know is that why did I do that? Yes, it impacted my business and it stopped people coming to me. Mm. But also, the main real reason is because my family was scammed.
No way.
By my relatives.
Wow.
So my mother she was swindled, she was sweet-talked into remortgaging our property. And considering that we didn't have money anyway, so remortgaged the property in the promise that we're going to give you this much return, Bina. We're going to give you this much return. We're going to get this. This is from her cousin. And then you can fund Priyash's music career.
Okay. So
my mum would do anything for me because she's my mother. She wanted to see me succeed, right?
Of course.
I didn't go down the generic route of a lawyer, of a solicitor, of a doctor, of a dentist. She took the risk in her son to go down the music route.
Okay.
And I made it very clear to Mum, I go, Mum, there's only two ways you're going to make it. You need a record label, you need money. Now, I've got the connections and the contacts to make me do really well, but I need the money. So when the opportunity came, and when this cousin of hers realised that, they used that as a way to persuade her to remortgage the house, take the money. And so they done that. They also made her take two £30,000 loans. So the remortgage was 140,000, two £30,000 loans. So that's £200,000 gone. And do you know where the money went? They blew it trading.
Really?
They blew it trading. The one thing that actually shouldn't have happened. And it shouldn't happen. You know why it shouldn't have happened? Because I was a smart one in the family.
Mm-hmm.
I may not have been academically smart. I was aware. I thought differently. So I should have been the one to put a stop to it, but I didn't. Why? I wanted the money for my music career.
Okay.
Because I knew that was the way to do it.
And did your mum know at the time what they were going to do with the money?
No. No one knew until after.
Okay.
But that's what happened. And then the audacity is that they were promising every month, we're going to give you this amount of money per month.
In return.
Like a couple of £1,000 a month. And so after like 3-4 years, you would have made that money back, plus you would have made so-and-so money back. So it sounds amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The deal sounds amazing. Of course, my mother's going to jump at it. She wants to help her son do well in his career,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But I let that happen. And then my mum went through a very, very dark place. And she, till this day, has never recovered from that.
No way.
She has never recovered. And then my mother changed from that moment because everybody blamed her. My father blamed her. Relatives blamed her. Friends blamed her. Everyone blamed her. But it's not my mum's fault.
Of course.
Because it was me. I should have stopped it.
I mean, you were young. How were you... Thank you for being so open and vulnerable at this point, to be honest with you, because this is something that I've known you for such a long time and I did not know this. And the fact that you are sharing this and have held this for so long, you as a young creative and for your parents believing in you, no one would have known that this was a scheme that your relatives had cooked up and continued feeding to your mother. Because if at some point they had said, actually, this is where we're going to go with this, maybe she would have had a chance to back out. Maybe you would have had a chance to speak up. But if someone's going to continuously keep feeding you and by the sounds of it is quite manipulative, they were being opportunists, it sounds, and you would never have known that. You would never have known that, do we?
I was too blinded by my own career, my own success, all the attention and fame I was getting, that I was like, okay, cool, thank you. So I should have put a stop to it. I should have put two and two together, you know. Of course, these loans...
That's in hindsight and being retrospective. But in the moment and at the time, I would not believe that someone in my family would come and tell my mum something that was completely out there and untrue and keep feeding that. Who does that, you know? And this is something that...
It's what it did to my mum.
Of course.
It's what I could not accept. She was on the brink of suicide. She would go for walks in the evening. No one could find her. She'd be in the park sitting there, even if it's raining. We'd send everyone, we told Dad to go drive. Everyone took extra jobs. Everyone took extra shifts because we had to get ourselves out of this problem.
Right.
We had deferred 2 months' payment on our mortgage. We're 1 month away. We had to reach out to family for help, you know. And these people were spiteful. So we got scammed. So I made it my mission that when I create P8FX, I said I was going to help people. Because no one should go through that. You should be able to be in control of your finances yourself. And I will help you do that. So that you haven't got to fall for schemes like this. And that's why I have helped people understand what things to look for when it comes to these scams. Because people are out there and they're doing it. But look at this. Last year, at the beginning of last year, my team got a message. My team got a message from someone who was interested in joining our academy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got my report from my team and I read the name, I read the name and I was like, why does this name ring a bell? And then my team take a Zoom call with every new person that tends to come onto P8FX. We get a good gauge of the type of person they are. And I asked, I'm going to take this Zoom call, please. I took the Zoom call. This is the daughter of the man that scammed my family.
No way. The audacity.
Now, check this.
What did you even say?
She doesn't even know.
Okay.
She doesn't know. She was young.
Okay.
She was young. And when I was young and this happened, I remember saying this. I remember saying that I'm going to make sure, and it might be bad of me to say this now, but in that moment I said to her, I'm going to make sure that her kids know what they have done to my family and how it destroyed my family. But as I got older, I let it go.
Of course.
Life takes a different journey. I moved away. I got married. And so I'm out of the UK as well. And then imagine me now seeing with my own eyes the daughter of the man, who scammed. It was her father and her father's brother.
Right.
Yeah, them two together. And they scammed my family. Now, I had to get off the call. And I went to my wife and I spoke to my ops manager. And this was the first time that I spoke about this to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So my ops manager knows. And I said, this is the situation. And my wife said to me, is she aware? I said no. Then she said, is it her fault? No.
Of course. What's
your duty to your students, Prayesh? To teach them, to mentor them, coach them, help them build financial freedom, financial literacy, build income streams. So is it her fault that her father did this, or her family did this to you? No. So at that moment, I had rage inside me. I'm going to tell her, this is what your family did to mine.
So in context,
but
before you took the call, did you think maybe it was a setup or something, or you just weren't sure?
I just wasn't sure.
Right.
I wasn't sure this is the same person. There's many people with similar names. It could just be that.
But you realised. And she was genuinely wanting to learn. That was it.
To this day, she's a student of mine and she has no idea. Yeah.
Right.
But your family put my mother at the brink of suicide.
Okay.
Made us struggle. Made us all work around the clock. Destroyed us. My mother has never been the same. She was a very strong, powerful woman. This person who knew what she wanted, everything. Now she's a fragile old lady. And you did that to her. You did that to her.
I'm so sorry to hear that. And it just, I'm processing it as you're speaking and I'm just listening and just, I never knew that is, as I said, you've been a go-getter and you've got so much passion and you're open with so many people, but I had no idea that this is where it came from. And it's a great example of actually using something that's happened to you and not letting it defeat you, but actually going out there and turning it into something, using lemons to make lemonade, literally.
So you lost my family's money doing the one thing I will show people how to do it properly and win from it.
Right.
And that's my way of success. And the fact that their daughter came to me to ask for financial help, shows that I'm winning.
Well, it comes full circle, what goes around comes around and you reap what you sow, so it's a crazy story of how it's come round full circle and you still have taken your time to teach and, educate as you do with P8FX, helping people understand trading and financial literacy and mindset when it comes to money and how it can really work for you and grow instead of it being a vice or something that you run away from or you're afraid of, so wow, this is so interesting. I have so many more other questions going through, but I kind of want to make sure that wow, that's a great answer. And thank you for sharing that. And so with regards to like the real and the fake, you show a lot of your real lifestyle and, there's a lot of scammers out there who try to show, especially with social media, there's so much things that people can perceive, whether it's right or wrong. They see a picture of anything and make up their own story. But there are a lot of scammers who, of course, prey on that because they know showing a car, showing a house, showing a watch and all these things can help people to buy into that gimmick. But you have done a lot of, exposing scammers and really breaking down how they make their money. Some of them actually do have money, but it's not from trading or whatever story it is that they portray elaborately on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. And so, what part does that play for you? You mentioned it's been a challenge with P8FX to, really get people to see the difference between the real life stuff that you can really do and the fake stuff, the scammers. How do you tell the difference?
Look, there are ways you can tell the difference. I think one of the key things is that is talking to the people behind it. But it's very difficult, Kai, because with people looking to get involved in the financial world, they don't know what they don't know. So the first influencer they come across on social media, promising them the world,
of course,
they sound credible.
Yeah.
Because of course you're showing me £100,000. It sounds credible. But they don't understand that it hasn't come from trading. That's probably come from affiliate schemes, brand marketing. It's probably come from the broker. It's all sorts of other ways. It's not come from trading, but they don't know what they don't know. So they fall into that trap. I think one of the key things, what I do differently, is I do a lot of live stuff.
Right.
So I go onto like TikTok live and I trade live and I give a lot of tips, advice to a lot of people. And so if some people are actively trading live, I would give them some feedback. The guys, I would say maybe this looks good, or maybe you could be careful of this one, or watch out for that. And when there's some major fundamental news that comes out, I break it down, explain why, and I guess that shows my credibility and what I'm able to do, because there's substance behind my claims, if that makes sense, right? Whereas a lot of these people, they will talk the talk because they're good at talking, but anyone who's involved in financial markets will know that they're talking a load of waffle, right? But they try to make themselves sound intelligent to lure people into their scam, because people believe, oh, it sounds really good, God, it's got to be legit, but it's not. And people don't really realize until it's too late. I think one of the key things, especially for the viewers watching, type in the company name, the individual name, and see what comes up. If anything on that first page on Google even remotely smells scam, stay away from it.
Right.
Because if people have mentioned it in the past as being a scam or a red flag, that should be a red flag too.
Exactly.
Right. Otherwise, why would anyone ever, anywhere, even mention something like that?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. There's so much misinformation out there. Everybody now has a following of some kind for doing something, and that's not a bad thing. But now, if you're somebody who's unassuming, you're genuinely open, you want to know, you're maybe even a little bit naive, you're trying to learn, you're trying to get into the books, the podcasts, the everything, screenshots and AI and all the misinformation out there can be so confusing. So it could be easy for someone to be misled with, oh, they seem like they've got a nice looking page, it seems coherent, they've got a team, they've got a following. But can you maybe tell us 3 things that trading is, and maybe 3 things that trading is not?
That's a good question. 3 things trading is and 3 things trading is. Okay, so trading is not. Let's do that first. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is not going to solve your problems. What else that it's not?
Is it confusing?
Not confusing, because there are many things I could say, but I'm trying to think of the right thing to say. Because I don't want to scare people away from this, because it's a life-changing opportunity if you understand what you're doing, if you've got the right financial education, right?
Right.
But there are so many misconceptions and so many cons that I guess a lot of these fraudsters have brought into the mix that I'm trying to... The third thing that it's not is, it's not going to solve all your problems. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's not going to give you happiness. Okay, it's not going to give you happiness. What it will do it will give you financial stability and comfort.
We like that.
It will open up your eyes to a lot more in how the world operates and works.
Right.
And the best thing and the last thing, it is going to make you learn about yourself more than ever before. It highlights all of your flaws, and your emotions is heightened. It's there. So yes, that's the 3 pros.
So mindset and emotional intelligence is like a key thing with trading, right? It's not just about the money and knowing the markets and the candles and the technical stuff. It's about you. It's about how you approach money, and if you're scared of it, if you like it, if you are patient with it. You know, can you tell us a little bit more about emotional intelligence? Because I don't really think people even speak about it too much. And if they do, it's like, you know, men shouldn't be this and women shouldn't be that and blah, blah, blah. But what about emotional intelligence with money?
I think one of the key things to your question there is education. So we're not taught financial literacy, what to do with our money in schools, right? I've said from a long time the schooling system is flawed, and there is a generic way that everybody not everybody wants you to live, but how you're taught to live. Right, you're taught to go to school, taught to get your GCSEs and A levels. After A levels, you've got to go to college. After that, you've got to go university. Then you've got to go get married. Then you've got to get a house, and you've got to have a kid, and you've got to have a secure job. 1 holiday a year to Portugal and Spain in the summer. That's the generic way of living. That's dated. I mean, you can't live like that. And then so that's how the whole schooling system was. And so we were never taught this. So if you want to have financial literacy, if you want to understand financial markets, you need proper financial education.
Right.
From firms like mine, which are accredited, to be able to do that, that have the knowledge and know-how to do it, right? That have people's best interests at heart. Right. And then you've got to take time to learn, because it's not easy. It's a whole world you're gonna go into. A whole world, not a small microscopic things. That's a whole world. So you need to understand that. You've got to give it time. And I think the biggest part of that is that you need to have the guts to actually do what you're taught. Because it's all well and good learning how to drive a car by reading a book, but eventually you're going to have to get in the car, right?
Absolutely.
And like I said before, you're either going to get in the car or you're not.
Right.
So you can learn it and not get in the car, but then what was the point of learning?
It's knowing it versus owning that knowledge and implementing it. And one of the things that I love about what P8FX does is that you have a 4-week course where you can teach someone all the fundamentals and the key core elements that they need for trading. But now it's about applying it. And for a lot of people, if you think it's scary or you think it's something that you can't do, you can have 4 weeks out of your year. You know, there's 52 weeks in a year. You can take 4 of those weeks to learn and implement some really life-changing information and skills. But it's now, what do you do with that information, and trusting yourself with that, and taking the money and the choices that you have in front of you into your own hands.
And that is spot on, right? It's 4 lessons, but remember, you're talking about over a decade's worth of work coming your way.
Of course.
4 lessons, live lessons. So it's a lot of information coming. And but it's the tools that you need to be able to understand and grasp it. And so, again, you're going to take the information I teach you, you're going to apply it, or you're not. You're going to do it, or you're not. What tends to happen? You're going to have half of them, yes, that will action it and be like, yep, let's go for it. Then there's the other half that wait on the sidelines. Then later on down the line, 1, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, markets are soaring, everyone's making money, they're seeing the screenshots, and they're not a part of that.
So I love, you've been so open and honest and vulnerable and shared so much in this short time. What would you say to anybody who's listening as a final thought for, if they're on the fence, if they're scared, you know, they're looking at the lavish lifestyle of someone maybe perhaps like yourself or anybody else that they see around and they want to make a change? What would you say to them to do right here and now to shift?
Got to take risks. If you want to live like this, we'll take it back to this example. You want to live like this and you want to take no risks and you're happy with that and you're comfortable with that, that's fine. But then don't go onto Instagram and then complain about someone else who's put in time and effort and work and energy into living like this, because you're not living like this. But if you want to live like this,
There's a way.
Do something about it. Don't talk, because talking is easy. Everybody talks. Doing is very hard, right? I tell all my students right from the start, from lesson number 1, everything I teach you, you're either going to absorb and you're going to do, or you're going to absorb and you're not going to do. It's as simple as that. So you either want to live a fantastic life for yourself, build better for yourself, for your family, children, whatever, or you're going to scroll past on Instagram watching other people live theirs. That's it.
Well, there are not many people like you who are making the money, living the lifestyle and sharing it. And I've asked you a couple of times, why do you share it? And I'm so glad that you've told me today and you shared with our audience exactly why. But not many people will teach what they know and share that knowledge. And so for anyone who wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
So a few ways. So just first and foremost, you can just visit the website www.P8FX Trading.com. And on there, there's an abundance of information on there,
and free resources,
and a lot of free resources on there, free books on there as well, and so where people can get stuck into, and there's contact details and forms on there where you can reach out to the team specifically as well, or you can catch me on Instagram on Mr_FX_labs, and then drop a DM, and myself or my team will we'll get back to you. So there is just general social media. You'll find us all over the place.
Reach out and take that risk.
Google P8FX Trading, but definitely take the risk. If you want to live differently, you've got to act and be different. Simple as that. So don't be the talker, be the doer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
So, Priyastashara from P8FX, thank you. And that has been Conversations with Kai. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Thanks, guys.